Happy Easter to all my recovery family out there. It's Jeremy again, and today I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about. And, usually I try to do some research and look into things, check out what different websites say about different topics in recovery and about addiction and stuff. And today I decided that I was just wanted to kind of shoot from the hip and just start talking and see where things go. I do have an idea of what I want to talk about, and that is the progression of the things that I kind of forced myself into doing, and the person that I became because of my addiction. Um, and just like the progression of how bad it got from the beginning when I was just drinking, and that's Reagan right there. Hi, Reagan. Um, so because I was thinking about the things that my addiction has forced me to do, and the person that it made me become. And I kind of wanted to touch on that just to show people what addiction is capable of doing to us as human beings. And as someone who prides themselves on being a pretty level person that has good morals and ethics, to the person that I became in my addiction, it's pretty it's night and day. So um so when I started drinking at 15, I it instantly came with lying and manipulating the truth as to where I was gonna be, who I was out with, why I was gone all night. I was at a young age. I was already manipulating my parents and situations because I had to hide certain things for fear of being punished, and the other repercussions that come with underage drinking, and going against what our parents think that we should be doing. And it didn't really seem like that big of a deal to me because nobody was getting hurt. I was just doing what teenagers did. We hide things from our parents, but I was building in my mind. I was building this concept that this is how life was, and it was okay to do these things. And even though it was just kind of what seemed to be like something small at the beginning, it opened the door to what would eventually become my life, and the horrible things that I would end up doing as an adult because of the behaviors that I started exhibiting as a teenager, and wasn't really told, or I guess I never really got caught that much, so I didn't really see the danger of what I was doing. I got a lot of way I got away with a lot of shit that I shouldn't have got away with. And while it was great for my criminal record and for my for the money that I had to spend, I didn't have all those fines. I didn't have a ton of jail time. Um it was horrible for my addiction because it led me to believe that I could get away with anything, and I really was getting away with things, tons of things, situations that I shouldn't have gotten away with. Um, I at eh, at 30, I got arrested for armed robbery, and I was in Detroit, in Wayne County, and I hadn't even had a misdemeanor in 10 years. So, all of a sudden, here I am looking at a charge that could carry up to life in prison, and to this point, I had done 72 hours in county jail. That was my only experience with jail and the law. So, and then, I went through the court process, and um I had the judge, saw that I had a drug problem, and I got sentenced to a jail-based rehab program, and I did 3 months in jail, 3 months in a halfway house, and then I was on probation. I was supposed to be on probation for 5 years. I got off in a year. And even then I wasn't being dropped. I wasn't. I had a total of like $120 in fines, and this is for armed robbery. And then in the halfway house, I was getting drunk, I was getting high, and that's the things that I saw that I could do, and I was getting away with it. And I wasn't just getting away with it because I was being sneaky. Like, I was getting caught with shit, but I was not getting punished for it. Whether it be um the security guards were crooked. One of them was selling Vicodin, and they were helping people pass their drug screens, and they were helping us sneak in heroin. It was crazy, like the atmosphere that I was sent to be safe, from this, to recover from this, and it was way worse than if I had been like sent back home or something. So so there was that, and that was just building this sense of me not being able to get caught. I remember when I was probably about 18, I was extremely intoxicated, and I was walking down the sidewalk and falling. I remember like picking myself up from the ground, and no one was there to trip me or anything. It was just, gravity just became too much for me at that time. And a cop pulled up on me and asked me what I was doing, and I told him that I was waiting for my girlfriend, that we just had a fight or something, and I was clearly wasted, and he drove off and left me on my own. It was a college town, so I'm sure they saw quite a bit of it, but like, these are the things that are happening to me. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm getting away with. Like, I am building this this thought about myself that I'm just above the law, that I can get away with whatever I want. Um, and then once I started getting into opiates and pills, it was quite common for me to steal from my mom, who was prescribed Vicodin, and my dad too. And I lived by the motto that it was easier to ask for forgiveness than it was for permission, because most of the time, like, I knew they might help me out like here and there, but like, they weren't gonna give me all the pills that I was taking, and I knew that I could beg for forgiveness and say I was sorry, and it would be okay, and it always was. Like, they weren't trying to enable me, but in a roundabout way they were. And it was another situation that was just horrible for my mindset, carrying on through my addiction, and how I felt about what I needed to do. I there was another situation where I was driving to work, and I was driving my buddy's car, and we had been up partying all night and doing all kinds of drugs, and I was speedballing at the time, and he was passed out, and I shouldn't have been driving either. I remember waking up on the drive there in the wrong lane, doing 55 on the back roads. I probably woke up, like, snapped back into reality just in time to get back into my lane to avoid a head-on collision. And then I ended up rear-ending a car at a stoplight, and it was slow. Like, there was no damage to any of the cars or anything, but of course the guy that I rear-ended was a retired police officer, so he had to call the cops and report it. And mind you, I'd been up partying all night, and I was out of my mind, and we ended up switching seats even, and the cop knew that. Asked why we switched seats, and I gave my best story about how it was his car, and blah blah blah. She ended up giving me a little field sobriety test with a flashlight in my eyes and stuff, and let me go. I had a suspended license, and that was it. Nothing came of it. And I was so high that when I got into work, I was waiting tables, and I got sent home because I was standing up at the computer trying to punch in an order, and I was nodding out, like, standing up. So that's, and I'm still, like, not getting in trouble with the law. Like, I should have been arrested that day. There was another DUI when I was in my like, early 20s that I got away with. The cop ended up giving me a ride home. Like, all these things just built up and led me to believe that I could really get away with anything. It was horrible for my mindset as I continued into my addiction. So then I started really, abusing everybody in every situation that I was in. I had this sense of entitlement that the world was owed to me, and that I deserved everything that I got and more. And I took advantage of everybody that came into my life. I became just a fucking monster, and I started stealing from anybody that I could, as long as it was something that I thought I could get away with. Um, there was always times too where I had to make a certain amount of money, or I had to get something, and regardless of whether I was gonna get caught or not, I was I was gonna take that money out of, there was a situation where I was serving at a restaurant, and I took money out of the register, and ended up going home sick like 20 minutes later. And they called me and said the drawer was short, and asked if I had taken it. And of course I said no. And I still, like, they still gave me the benefit of the doubt because they couldn't really prove anything. And I continued with this behavior until, I finally got clean. And it definitely got worse. um I would I would take advantage of people to live with. And I would you know I I would not pay them rent, and always make up excuses to try to work things out, and try to stay there as long as I could. And then I continued to steal from people, and it got to the point where if I was gonna be sick or was sick, I even went as far as stealing purses from women, and I justified it as the fact that I was teaching them how to take care of their purse from now on. It wouldn't happen to them again because I showed them that they can't leave their shit unwatched, or in their grocery cart or whatever. Um, and it was killing my conscience because as much as I tried to block it out, like I knew I was better than that person that I had become. I knew that that wasn't me, but at the same time it was me because that's what I was doing and that's who I had become. That's who I let my addiction turn me into. And I didn't know how to get away from it. And every time I went back out, it got worse. I had a purse that I found with with a lot of money in it and an ID, and I didn't return it to that person. And at the time, I thought that I was gonna, do all these things with the money, and I was gonna, um, pay off my fines, and I was gonna buy my son a great Christmas present and birthday present, and that money was gone before I knew it. And I had no idea how it disappeared so fast. And that's the person that I had become because of my addiction, and I just hated it. But like I just I just kept getting away with all these things, and I kept finding people that would take care of me, and I kept finding people that would help me. And as much as it was, they thought they were helping me, it was really just not not making me realize how bad I really was. And I have to keep that in mind now when I deal with my the friends and the people that come into my life now that are still struggling, that I can't enable them, and I can't make life like so easy that they don't realize how shitty things really are, because I can play tricks in my mind, and I can make myself feel like I'm doing better than I really am. And that's what kept me out for so long, and that's what kept me going back out for so long, was that I kept making things seem better than they really were, because I hadn't got as bad as that person or that other person, and I couldn't learn from their mistakes either. I had to make them myself. And today I know that I can learn from other people's experiences. I don't have to experience everything myself, thank God, because that shit was fucking exhausting. Having to go through all that. It was so exhausting. And at the end, I was just broken. I was morally and spiritually bankrupt. I was um, still trying to manipulate myself through every situation, but finally it got to the point where everybody had heard enough of my shit. They had seen the games that I played, and they weren't playing them anymore. And once I realized that, is when I realized I had to do something different for myself, and I had to change my life. Once I realized really that my mom was done with me, was like, and my sister too, was a pretty big breaking point for me, because they'd been there my whole life, and I could always count on them when I was down and out to kind of bail me out, or give me a little push in the right direction. And they were done, and I had used up all I could with them. And that really opened my eyes to like how far down I had gone, and how long I'd been playing these games and taking advantage of people, and that I just couldn't do it anymore. So yeah, I don't know. I've been really thinking about that a lot lately, and I kind of just needed to talk about it. I don't know if it'll help anybody out there, but I needed to say a lot of these things for myself, and I suggest that if you have these things that you're holding on to and you're struggling with staying sober and this life of recovery, to start thinking about that shit that you did when you were in your active addiction, and talk about it, because when you hear yourself say it, it takes a whole nother meaning. And I just needed to do that. I've just been thinking about these things so much, and I've had my struggles recently where I've been thinking about the good times, and I wouldn't have gotten high if there wasn't some fun attached to it, and I wouldn't have gone back to it as many times as I had if there wasn't some fond memories to it, if there wasn't some, some kind of attachment to it. And it's those memories that can fuck things up for me when I spend too much time paying attention to them and I forget about what I just covered in this video and that person that I became. And even though I knew better, even though I was raised better, even though I had been better, that's who I became, because I was gonna survive, and I was gonna get high at that time, and that's what I had to do that. I didn't enjoy it, but it became part of who I was, and I have to remind myself of that in order to stay on the path that I'm at right now, and focus on the fact that that person is still there. That shit's right around the corner if I want to go back to using, and it's gonna be worse. It's gonna be worse if I go back out, because it always, every other time it was. It's been a constant progression, just getting worse and worse and worse. So I can guarantee you, if I go back out, it's gonna be way worse, and way worse means that I'm either gonna end up in prison or dead, because like you said, I was already almost there anyways. I should have been in prison. So yeah, I just wanted to, like I said, I'm just kind of making this video just so I can get all this out and air my dirty laundry, and I feel a lot better. So I appreciate you guys listening. I always appreciate your comments and any feedback. If you're struggling, please reach out to somebody. If not me, anybody, and someone will be there to help. But remember, this is your fucking life, and if you want it to be better, you have to make it better. It's on you. No one can save you from yourself. We have to save ourselves. People will be there to help you, but ultimately, it's up to you. And you can do it. If I can, you can. Trust me. Hopeless was definitely a word that was used synonymously with my name at one point, and now it's not. So it can be done. I guarantee you it can be done. So yeah. So thanks for listening, guys. I love all of you, and have a happy Easter and every other day. And remember that together we will change the world. Thanks, guys.